Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from the country. And welcome to our OLLI Travel Insights presented by Nanda Journeys, our third in this series of trainings and informative informational sessions. We're so excited this time to be talking about something that we really are passionate about, and that is transforming the classroom into educational journeys, and the idea of taking your classroom and bringing it out into the world and experiencing the destinations firsthand. I am Michael Ziegler. I am the product development director here at Nanda Journeys. I'm alongside my colleague, Nicola Balmain, who's the founder and CEO of Nanda Journeys. We're doing this again with OLLI. We've got a lot of success under our belt now with some OLLI programs. So talk to us a little bit about your experience, Nicola. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, first of all, welcome everybody. It's been so wonderful to communicate with you all this kind of past week and inviting you to this informational session. Thanks, Michael, for being here again. I think this is the third in the series of conversations that are for OLLI directors and their travel committees. And I personally have just enjoyed this road. I'm new to OLLI in the last couple of years, but fortunately with your introduction and longstanding expertise with this group, you made me realize just how perfect Nanda Journeys is for collaborating with these wonderful OLLI programs across the country. And I am just having the time of my life with this. It's just so exciting. And this particular topic we're talking about, it's been something I've been thinking about for over a year. So super excited to talk to everybody today. So welcome, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, our third in our series. I've been working with OLLI programs and OLLI Osher Lifelong Learning Institute programs for over 15 years now. So I'm excited to be able to bring, when I started to work with you at Nanda Journeys, I found so many synergies between what you do in the educational travel space and what these organizations, these Osher Lifelong Learnings, do in the travel space as well. So I'm so excited to get into some of the success we've had, some of the insights we bring, and some of the ways that we can kind of help, or we've already helped. I see some familiar faces on the webinar as well. But before we get into kind of who Nanda Journeys is, I did want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody on the webinar is muted today. That does not mean we don't want your questions. We absolutely do. We're expecting a lot of questions. So please click on that chat button and drop your questions in the chat. Also, let us know where you're from. We'd love to see. We have, over 20 people registered for this webinar or training today. So we're super excited to have people from all over the country joining us. So feel free, drop us where you're from, and that you're excited to have us here as well. Also, last but not least, this is a recorded webinar. So please know that if you do have to step away to help someone on your team, or if there's someone on your team that couldn't necessarily be here today, please know that we will be sending out the recording so that way you can share it with your team or watch whatever parts that you do miss. So with that being said, although this isn't all about Nanda Journeys, in an effort to kind of set the stage as to why Nanda, why are we talking about some of the things we're talking about, tell us a little bit about who you are, Nicola, who Nanda Journeys is, and why we are the experts that should be telling all about what travel should be with OLLI programs.
Yeah, so again, welcome everybody. We tell everybody on these webinars, welcome to the Nanda family. So welcome OLLI family to the Nanda family. So I've worked in travel my whole life. Since the young age of 18 is when I started my career in England, transitioned to the United States in 2001. And really, my passion was reignited in 2007 when I started working for a student education, international student education company called People to People Ambassador Programs. I was responsible for their international student development and operations, but also for their professional development programs that they operated for universities, associations. And that's where I fell in love with travel, because it was so meaningful, so purposeful, filled with people connections, the impact that we were having in communities, with homestays and home dinners, and really getting involved in the local culture and community. It lit me up. But then it kind of, my fire distinguished a little bit when that company closed in 2015. And that's when I started Nanda Journeys. I couldn't foresee for myself another place in travel other than this transformational, educational, immersive experience. So here we are, Nanda Journeys, and I welcome everybody today and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. And just to kind of give everybody an overview as to kind of some of the things that we're going to be talking today. And really, what we wanted to discuss is this idea of one of the key aspects of a travel program and the key purposes of a travel program is why do you combine travel and classroom learning, right? How does classroom learning become more important and more impactful as you take it out into the world and get a chance to have your students or your members experience what they've learned in the classroom? We're going to talk a little bit about how to create custom journeys, some of the destinations that we're seeing and some of the course ideas that we are seeing within the OLLI programs that we're hearing. Some of them we've already designed and created. Some of them we would love to design and create because we see a lot of the opportunities out there in terms of classroom learning that could really bring these destinations to light in different ways. And then finding the right partners. And then obviously at the very end, answering any questions or concerns. So let's dive right into it, Nicola. One of the questions or one of the things that we always hear from OLLI programs that we talk to is, we have a travel program, but our travel program doesn't necessarily always align with our curriculum or what we have planned throughout the year in terms of what we're teaching in the classroom. Why should a program, an OLLI program, kind of combine their classroom learning in conjunction with some of the travel programs that they have?
Yeah, I think, for the number one thing is to try and find an audience, a larger audience, right? Because, this is a revenue opportunity for Ollie's as well as offering an opportunity to them for traveling around the world. So one of the ways to increase kind of your footprint or your audience target is to design, your classroom learning and then combine that with a travel opportunity. So several of the courses that you're designing could fit the destination profile and come together so that you have multiple classrooms and courses that are ultimately motivated and excited about an opportunity to travel. Traveling really increases kind of the enforcement of learning, right? That's one of the things that some of us are different learners. I, for one, am a hands-on learner, which is why I think I get passionate about these things. So it reinforces what I've learned in the classroom if I can see it in person. And the other thing that we're finding with educational university and OLLI type programs is the cultural understanding that brings an opportunity to really engage with people in an everyday life situation. So we're not on the periphery of going and seeing the Eiffel Tower or the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which of course we don't miss, but we really want to get you connected to the people that are living their everyday lives there. What is it like to live in the country that you're visiting? Have a home meal, which increases friendships and cultural understanding. And, in a world that's complex, it's always been complex, but it feels a little bit more complex today. That need to understand other pieces of culture and to create those ties together. The company I worked for was founded by President Eisenhower, and his core belief was if we were friends first, we were less likely to take up arms against each other. He devised this kind of program after World War II. So I think there are so many different reasons to combine courses with travel experiences. Some of them are just, operationally make sense, right? For
Yeah, yeah.
efficiency and things, but really it's about a powerful experience for the members, for the OLLI members.
And one of the things that in terms of the conversations that we have, and like I said, I've worked with OLLI programs for many over a decade now. And a lot of times they basically have their courses fit the travel programs that are available. We've never really had a good way to say this, but basically what they do is they put together a trip to France, and they'd look at the itinerary and say, okay, what can we build a course around this itinerary in France? Well, they're seeing a lot of cool architecture in France, so maybe we'll do a classroom learning on architecture. So you're really having the classroom match what is already in the itinerary instead of what we suggest. And one of the ways that, combining travel and classroom learning is flipping that script to say, okay, if they're going to France, what about we do a classroom learning about the French Revolution and, the French Revolution in Paris. And then we have our itinerary that we do in Paris and France and Normandy, or wars in France, for instance. We could do Paris and Normandy, talk about the French Revolution in Paris, and then in Normandy you could talk about D-Day and that sort of thing. And that changes the script in terms of when your students are coming to class, they're engaged, they're more engaged. They want to learn more because they realize that in the next 6 months, I'm actually going to be there. So I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to take more notes. I always use the example, and I don't want to, we're going to be talking about Ireland in a minute, But like when my wife and I got back from Ireland, she wanted to learn more because she had been so excited about what she had learned when she was there that she was reading books, she was watching movies, she was more engaged in the culture at that point. Flipping that itinerary to say, how about we learn and then go? That makes it not only a much more impactful experience in the classroom and a much more dynamic and participatory learning experience, but while they're in destination, they are already knowing what the culture is all about, what they should be looking for. When they're in some of these destinations, they're already engaged in knowing what they're going to be excited about coming to the destination. So it not only makes the engagement in the classroom more powerful, but it also makes the engagement overseas much more impactful as well, and much more you learn a lot more, you retain a lot more. So it's a really cool way, and you're not put in a corner based on the itineraries you're choosing. You're actually able to you're actually able to customize the itineraries based on what you want to teach in the classroom, which is a really
Yeah,
cool way to kind of flip that conversation for a lot of these OLLI programs we work with.
yeah, for sure.
So let's get into some of the destinations that we're talking about and some of the destinations that we're seeing. One of the things that we want to talk about before we get into some of these destinations, we have 4 destinations that we want to kind of we want to kind of show. And before we kind of get into it, some of these destinations you may have traveled before in the past, but the ways that we're looking to approach them is seeing them through this new perspective. You may have seen Dublin through the light of the culture, but did you see it through the light of some of these classroom learnings that we're going to be bringing forth? But what we kind of have started to do within some of our itineraries, some of the things that we've kind of highlighted, are what we call these OLLI moments. Tell us a little bit about what we're considering, calling these OLLI moments within our itineraries or within the itineraries that are designed.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to describe it is OLLI moments reflect your specific OLLI personality and learning objectives. So if there are several courses that ultimately are going to culminate in a travel program, either before the course or after the course is delivered, we're going to create moments that are very specific to that learning, that curriculum in the course. Maybe the professor teaching the course has a particular passion. We'll create a program opportunity around those experiences. And we call those OLLI moments. They're typically kind of hands-on. It's either a hands-on craft opportunity where you're physically making something. It could be a cooking class, art class. It could be an in-person experience with somebody who has been involved in, something specific to your course. Either they're a professor in the local country, or, in the case of a program that we've designed for an OLLI in Alabama, in Huntsville, and hello to Jane and Chris, and I think David's online today as well, is we actually went out to the garden route. This is a program design we're still working on. We're still designing it. We're still working it to make it fit their unique personality. And we're going to go out to a retired community, which is a perfect fit for the OLLI lifelong learner members. And we're going to have a whole day with them because they're living a similar OLLI lifestyle, and with the same kind of learning objectives, they have the same opportunities to continue to learn in their local community. So it's those, tell me about you, tell me about your personality of your members, tell me about your professor, and then let's create moments that will be those legacy storytelling opportunities when you come back. That's the way I think about it. I know we've put great words around it, but that's the way I feel about OLLI moments.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the importance of picking the right partner, right? It's a participatory act. It's a collaboration of building the itinerary. It's not a dictated. You're not told what the itinerary is going to look like, and then you have to, again, going back to fit the classroom around what you're told the itinerary is going to look like. It's a collaboration. We would really like to focus on this in this particular city, or talk about this particular theme throughout the entire itinerary. And finding the right partner that has that education background and that education first approach to travel, that is a
Yeah.
huge part of being able to build a strong and dynamic travel program that not only feeds your success of your travel program, but also feeds the success of the classroom as well, because you have those dynamic learning opportunities while you're on journey that are relating back to the classroom.
Yeah. And you'll just
And
flip
so,
back for me.
yeah,
Sorry, just flip back for me real quick, Michael. Sorry, I wanted to talk about the 3 pictures at the bottom, just because it's some of my favorite OLLI moments, right? As in, they've been NANDA moments for us. There'll be OLLI moments for our OLLI folks here. On the very left is the Doolin Music House. Christy Barry, he's a character in the county of Kerry, a very well-renowned musician. He plays the tin whistle, and him and his wife host our guests in their living room. And, the neighbor comes by and she does some Irish dancing. And Christy tells his stories, and Irish are very well renowned for their storytelling, and Christy has plenty. And then in the middle here, this is a tiny school in Rajasthan that we've been supporting for a long time. So we'll go out and visit with them, spend the entire day playing games or teaching in the classroom, teaching English, teaching math. And on the very far right-hand side is us just finishing an emerald workshop in Colombia. So we took a raw piece of emerald and we cut our own emerald and we made it into beautiful, shiny pieces that some people made into jewelry. So that gives you a flavor for the kind of moments that we want to infuse into OLLI programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the great part of these Ollie moments is seeing a destination that may be popular, maybe you've traveled to with your travel program or your Ollie group before in the past, but seeing them in a different light and seeing them through a different lens. And so we've chosen a few destinations. This by no means is an exhaustive list of all the destinations you had mentioned. The garden route in South Africa. I know we've put together programs to Iceland, as well for some of the Ollie programs here on the journey, and we're working on an Ireland program coming up. But these are just some of the ideas that we have. One of the great things that I've loved about, when you find the right travel partner, is finding someone who's collaborative, who's willing to listen to your ideas and your thoughts to say, you know what, that does sound like a great idea. It might not have been something we've thought about before in the past, but let's explore what that could look like in a classroom environment as well as in person in person tour of a particular destination. So we're talking about popular destinations. Ireland, we always say the three I's in the United States: Ireland, Iceland, and Italy. Those are the three biggest destinations that people go to. If you haven't been, you're going there. If you've already been, you're going back, right? So
Yeah.
Ireland is one of those destinations for me and for you, since you've been there quite a few times. I've been there before as well. One of my favorite destinations in the world, and seeing it through the lens of Ollie, seeing it through the lens of education, definitely brings this new and experience. Tell us why Ireland is such a great destination for Ollie programs to kind of, if they've been before, maybe go back to experience a different version of it.
Yeah, so well, first of all, I was a Murphy before I was a Balmain. So Ireland is very important in my family ancestry. I grew up in the northwest of England, and all of my grandparents are from Ireland. So I have an Irish heart, let's say. So Ireland is very important to me, and everybody loves Ireland, right? Somebody has either been or know somebody who's been, and it's a way of looking at Ireland through a different lens. So we're looking at it through a lens in this particular journey that we've curated and fashioned around an education concept of the road to peace. This originally started with a group of lawyers that we were taking to Ireland, and they went twice actually on this Road to Peace kind of program. And it's a way of looking at the culture of Ireland through the lens of the Troubles. So you could have a course that's offered within your OLLI course curriculum that looks at the Troubles, has a professor that talks about the road to peace, the peace process. We can talk to nuns that were journalists and lawyers before they were nuns that were involved in the peace process, or speak to people that covered the peace process and are very familiar with how it came about, go to locations where the peace agreement was actually signed. And you can, of course, still do the most amazing things around that program. So if you've got that course, you can also offer so many other courses for Ireland. Their literary arts. There are so many things you could do. Seamus Heaney's Home, and understanding the life and times of Seamus Heaney and all of the other wonderful writers from Ireland. We just had a library group return from Ireland, and they went to one of the oldest libraries in Ireland that was started in the 1700s. So that's another angle. So you could be having these courses that run parallel, either before or after, depending on the availability of professors. There are so many other topics. We've chosen 2 more here. I think we started with 15 topics, Michael, and boiled it down to 4 because we don't have 5 hours. But these are just ideas, So the Titanic, of course, then going to the Titanic Museum. We all know the history of the Titanic, but do you want to see it hands-on? And then the Irish culture. There's a lot of spirituality, ley lines, a lot of mystic stories in Ireland. So multiple courses could be offered that culminated in a journey to Ireland that's seen through a very different lens than the ring road or the traditional paths that you might take on a more traditional journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, some of the things, I mean, when I was there, I saw the Titanic Museum, and getting a chance to learn more about the Titanic before I went would have been a big impact on the experience while I was there. But like the myths and landscapes, I mean, Giant's Causeway, the ability to see Giant's Causeway and understanding what the Giant's Causeway actually was, and not actually was, but what they say it was, which was that bridge between giants. But those kinds of things around the myth. I think my daughters were with me in Ireland. They would like became leprechaun whisperers while they were there, and they understood like the history of leprechauns. So the idea, all the film history, and I've actually had one last point about these itineraries, which I wanted, which is why I thought the literary giants would be a good one. Because I've had conversations with OLLI programs that have talked to me about, we would love to do an Ireland and England literary giants program, because
Mhm.
there are so many literary, learning about the literary giants, some of these, James Joyce and some of those that are very, very popular in that part of the world, learning about the history and then going to their houses and kind of seeing where they grew up, and that makes it so much more impactful for the work that we do. Above and beyond that, another tried and true destination, maybe not as oftenly visited as Ireland, but maybe before they've been there, is Austria. It's another program, another destination that we work with OLLI programs, or are working with OLLI programs to put together. What about Austria makes it such a great OLLI destination?
Yeah, this one, I mean, Austria again, tried and true, beautiful. And, it's wonderful, but there were so many different ways to see Austria. And one of the ways that we most recently had a group return, we were looking at Christmas traditions and Christmas markets. The Christmas markets in Europe are so, world renowned, people love them. But if we can look at it through a different lens of how can we meet the puppet makers, and we're working with Lisa and one of her professors at the University of Pittsburgh with that puppeteer angle to it, right? So it's like, okay, wood carving is really important, as is the history, the Habsburg history, and Austria during World War II, and the various kind of conflicts of old Austria. So many different ways to see it. Going there at Christmas time, it's already a natural demand profile, right? People want to go when you run the risk of getting a little bit of snow, and it's pre-holiday season and a little Christmassy and holiday spirit, buying wonderful gifts for your grandchildren or children or friends, super unique. So looking at it again through that lens of how can we create courses that might match the experience in Austria. Christmas markets and Christmas traditions is one. And one of the things I'm excited about is joining people to celebrate Krampus. So Krampus is that, that the scary, if you've been bad, the scary kind of, St. Nicholas is the following day, celebrated on December 6th. So seeing people celebrate that holiday in a traditional way, baking cookies, and going to a Christmas concert. And we're even exploring going to, a school or something like that to hang out with families who are enjoying the Christmas holiday season through the eyes of their kids, which I think would be wonderful for OLLI members, who do the same with their own families. But there's so many other topics, that you could explore. The classical music and the Sound of Music is a tried and true, but there's a whole other story to the Sound of Music, and it's not actually very well revered as a musical production in Austria because there were some inconsistencies in the stories. So wouldn't it be
Mhm.
great to learn the real story behind the Sound of Music and some of the inconsistencies that were maybe portrayed in the film that we've all become to know and love? And then the architecture, music, Melk Abbey with its organ, for instance. So there's so many opportunities to then have hands-on experiences that go deeper into your course learning. So again, the Austria list was about 15 long in terms of ideas. And for everybody on the call, if you wanted to have a conversation with us about other course curriculum ideas around a specific destination, we're really happy to do that.
Yeah, I think Austria is one of my favorite countries in the world, and that's another reason, a little selfish, why I thought it would be a great destination to talk about here. Because when I was there, just learning about the Habsburg dynasty and how Austria was the heart of the Habsburg dynasty, with the palaces there and the dancing horses that they have that I had no idea existed, and the Vienna, I think, is my favorite city in the entire world. And so, the food, the experience there, learning about the Habsburgs, walking. I mean, not a lot of people realize that when you get a chance to walk through the palaces there, you're walking in the footprints of footsteps of
Mhm.
Marie Antoinette, right? Let them eat cake, right? We all know the saying, we all know the story, we all know how that story came to an unfortunate end. But getting a chance to walk in those footsteps, I can only imagine, again, would be more impactful if I had some idea around what I was walking into. No pun intended. But but then I'm a huge, also another part of Austria is I'm a huge classical music buff, right? I love Mozart. I love the movie Amadeus, and talking about Mozart and Salieri, and while I was the hotel I was actually at, one of their conference rooms was named the Salieri conference room. And so it's definitely really interesting to kind of experience that through the lens of education. And then the beauty of the architecture and all that. That speaks for itself. But Austria, through that lens, brings a different feel, a different experience for the travelers that attend. And building your classroom around these experiences definitely brings this destination to life in a unique way as well. So now that we've talked about a few of the more popular itineraries, going off of the beaten path, some of the we say off the beaten path. There's a travel company out there that says the not hot list, which basically means the destinations that are up and coming, but not necessarily hot right now.
Yeah.
And Colombia is one of those destinations because it does have that history to it that people are very hesitant about, but it's gone through a renaissance, so to speak, of its own, and kind of become this flourishing and beautiful culture and destination. Tell us a little bit about how Colombia can become a great destination for OLLI programs.
Yeah, I know that, we talked about the things, the destinations that come to your mind. And what I like to have a conversation with people about is how about exploring pathways that might not necessarily be easy or not necessarily comfortable. And Colombia, they think it's not safe. Well, it certainly was not safe for sure for a very, very long time. But they also went through their own peace journey and their peace and reconciliation. And 2016 is when they signed their peace agreement. And I was there actually last October, and it's an amazing and beautiful country. It's Colombia with an O. It's not a Colombia with a U like we have here in the United States. So we always have to remember to double check that. And it's stunning. This is the Pinole border on the bottom left there. And yes, I did climb to the top, and it's 740 steps, and it is beautiful and it's stunning. But its history, it's very checkered history, and its challenged history presents an opportunity for learning, right? So there's so much we think we know about Pablo Escobar and the impact on the country, but really the complexity behind what we think we know about that is so much deeper. And, the people I met had a very different perspective than one that I arrived with. And the learning opportunity about that history was really profound. And the country is stunning. It's absolutely beautiful, from the high Andes to the beautiful white Caribbean beaches of Cartagena. So Colombia has access from the United States, lots of nonstops from different gateways. So it's close, the time change. You're arriving on the same day. You can do activities that same afternoon. You can create a short program or a long program. And it's becoming an eco-friendly destination, winning tons of awards for being a very eco-conscious, forward thinker when it comes to responsible tourism and responsible tourism practices. So I can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
We just had the most amazing time, and there's so many different classroom opportunities. Again, it depends, what professors you have in your faculty that might want to grab onto one of these. And as Lisa and I were discussing, and as we discovered, Oren, who is a biology professor, has a passion for Austria and puppeteering and culture in Austria. So it's not his mainstream course delivery, but it's his passion project. So is there somebody within your faculty that has a passion for something that might be just a little bit outside of their traditional teaching criteria? So some ideas, peace and reconciliation is obvious, but the graffiti culture, it's art in Colombia. And it's actually it was their way of peaceful protesting, which has become a movement in of itself. So we had a graffiti tour, and then we created our own piece of graffiti art, which those spray cans do not cooperate if you're not well practiced with them. But the graffiti culture is very, very important to the modern culture and the modern day history. And then Medellin, everybody thinks about Medellin as Pablo Escobar and crime. And yes, it was the most dangerous city in the world in the early 2000s. But it's an innovation hub now. It has cable cars connecting the small towns that are, the favelas that, very, very poor infrastructure. But for $1, you can drive all of these cable cars for the whole day. And that allows people to get to work, to go to school. So they're enabling people to help themselves, to be able to work. And the tourism culture there, the hip hop culture, the dance culture, they are self-managing. They know that tourism is a way of out of poverty, and they warmly welcome people to come and visit them. But the underlying how did we get there is where we go and where we dig deep. And then this one I know is something that you were super excited about, Michael, is the legend of El Dorado.
I just didn't know El Dorado was in Colombia. I didn't realize we all. I mean, the Road of Gold. We all realize what it is. I just didn't realize it was in Colombia. And I just think Colombia is such a cool destination. I feel like it's one of those. We know Peru, we know Machu Picchu. Obviously, there are classroom learnings that can happen around those destinations.
Of course.
Ecuador, the Galapagos Islands. Charles Darwin. You can build a whole classroom learning about that and then go experience the Galapagos Islands. I love Colombia because it is one of those destinations that has experienced a renaissance and has such an interesting history, especially recent history with the Colombia drug cartels and all of that, and how much it's cleaned up. And I feel like that's a very intriguing and interesting story. And then if you can sprinkle a little bit of El Dorado in there, I feel like it's a win-win for everybody in the end. But I think Colombia, for those that might not be on their radar, when they think of South America, the beauty of South America is, to your point, time zones. You're not going 6 hours ahead of time to go to Europe. You're staying in the same time zone. So the jet lag is still there, but it's not as tough because you're still staying in the same time zone. And it offers so much as a unique destination that's kind of up and coming and continuing to build in popularity and interest. And I feel like we're a little bit ahead of the game on this destination because I see a lot of other tour operators starting to talk about it, starting to look at product in that destination. And I think Colombia is one of those destinations that if you haven't been yet, going in the next couple of years is a sweet spot before it starts to become too commercialized and becomes too popular. And then you start to lose some of that unique, authentic attitude and interest in Colombia. The next destination is one that I know I'm going to have to step aside and just give you the stage because this is one of your heart destinations in India, one of the more beautiful destinations that I've seen. But I wanted to put this here. We wanted to put this here because there is, this was one that we wanted to almost put 2 slides of training of classroom learnings because you had so much. Tell us a little bit about India and why you feel it's such an amazing OLLI destination.
It was so hard today to kind of figure out how do we talk about 2 destinations that are really familiar to people, and then how do we hone in on 2 that might be exciting for people. And I guess it's really important you lean into your own passions, right? So of course I'm passionate about the world and lots of other destinations, but this one's a little bit special because it has so much influence into the origins of Nanda journeys as well. So Nanda is a word in Sanskrit that means joy and happiness. And if we're creating travel programs, then we sure as heck should be focused on making sure everybody has lots of joy, they're filled with happiness, and they come back with joyful memories. So I've been traveling to India for over 15 years, and I just have fallen in love with it. I'm particularly fond of the Rajasthan culture in northern India, but I've traveled to the south as well. And I can tell you that India is just not one dynamic. It's a multitude of personalities and flavors and sights. And yes, Delhi is busy, and you definitely do not want to go exploring Delhi by yourself. It's just too overwhelming. You definitely do not want to drive in India because the rules of the roads do not apply. But the professional drivers there, they know exactly how to navigate it, and it works. But India presents so many opportunities for classroom learning. I mean, the list literally is endless. But there are so many opportunities to have impact as well while traveling, right? So that's something that we're passionate about here is how can we travel for good? And we try and put a lens on that with every program that we create. But just just to boil down some of the amazing ideas that we have for you in terms of courses, the religions, obviously, of India, very, very diverse religious population that coexist together. And it's a beautiful thing to walk into a Hindu temple and feel the spirituality and the way of prayer, and to understand that culture, how that culture exists in everyday life, and to even, be of service and going into one of the temples and making the food for the day. That's something that I've done and been really, really moved by. So the diversity of the religions and really diving into that and going to lots of different locations. The South also offers an opportunity for you to really, like Jainism in the South is a religion that's not really well understood, but also it has pockets all over the country. Um, the royal heritage, the Maharajas, a lot of the Maharaja palaces have been converted into these most beautiful luxury hotels. But also on the other end of that, these small palaces that exist in the very small rural communities, every rural community had the Maharaja, but their homes were maybe not quite as grand as those in the big, large cities, but nonetheless, they were palaces and their heritage homes, and they've been converted into these very boutique experiences. So you can have both extremes of that experience, understanding what it was like to rule over a large city with an urban sprawl versus this very small rural population. And what did that mean? And what does that mean today? Because there's still legacy in the families. And then the spices and flavors. I mean, that in itself is so unique. The colors of India are some of the things that sit with me so much. So cuisine, having a program that could be entirely around cooking, right? And Indian food's really, really important to me. It's beef, fish, and chips now in the United Kingdom in terms of the most popular food. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Ayurveda and wellness. There's a lot of talk about holistic medicine these days, and how can we combine the learnings of traditional medicine with modern day medicine? An Ayurveda practice is blended in India. So there are mainstream hospitals that function entirely in Ayurveda practices that also work alongside mainstream medicine. That's another avenue that could be explored, and having a Ayurveda dosha kind of experience where you get to learn what your dosha is, and it's it's fascinating. I could talk to you for the next couple hours about India, but in the essence of time, just wanted to share with people that there are so many different views of India. And then, of course, we haven't talked about it here, but you have, the tigers and the conservation, and you have all the wildlife and the natural beauty of India, which I think is overlooked sometimes. It's a unique opportunity to see India in a way that the Golden Triangle is there, but there's a way to see the Golden Triangle that's way beyond what you might be seeing in a traditional travel brochure, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, just based on some of the classes up here, it'd be a very robust classroom experience. I feel they'd learn a lot, and a lot would be able to be brought with them to the beautiful culture and country of India. But it all starts with finding the right travel partner, right? So, a lot of the OLLI programs that are on today that have signed up for our webinar, our training, our series today have traveled before in the past with many travel programs as well. So it all starts with choosing the right travel program. You've run Nanda Journeys for a while. You probably know of many other travel companies out there that work within the OLLI and continuing education space. What is it about when an OLLI program, whether they're starting or they're continuing to build, what should they look for when they're choosing that right travel company? Is it experience? Is it size? What are they kind of looking for when it comes to choosing the right travel partner, whether they're just starting or they're looking to take that program to that next level?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and I do appreciate everybody registering early today, so Michael and I could take a peek at who we're chatting with today, and we will invite you to come and engage with us here in a second. But I noticed some of you are very experienced in running international travel programs. Some of you are brand new, getting started. I know I won't call out the name, but I know somebody's just a week into the role with the OLLI program, and some of you have not got your travel program started yet. So for me, I think it's all about number one, finding the perfect relationship, like a collaborative relationship with somebody who has an expertise in educational travel, because your mission as Lifelong Learner Institute is for people to learn, like, to really have that immersive experience, that opportunity to have foundational knowledge that is grounded in expert experiences, right? So I think that's really important. And to try and align with your personality, as I think I said in the opening of our conversation today, is your personality and the personality of your members is different than all the other OLLI programs across the United States. So whilst there is a fundamental mission of what you represent as Osher Lifelong Learning, individually you're from a different part of the country, so you have different objectives for what it is you want to learn about. So have somebody who'll have a conversation with you about how can you create a bespoke program around your learning objectives and the destination that you want to go to. And then have somebody that you can talk to about very local connections. Like, we only work with people that we've had a relationship with for several years. Our Columbia partner, I told him in 2009 we eventually would create programs together. That's a long time to wait to create a program, but we are founded in that relationship. It's about relationship first, business second. Is like understand the culture, understand the unique mission of every journey, because we want to ensure that that journey emulates the professor, the course, the personality of your OLLI. Because at the end of the day, it needs to resonate with you. It needs to resonate with
Right.
you so you can talk passionately about it in terms of, them inviting people to come and join this wonderful opportunity. And I know you believe membership and growth and retention is very firmly linked with travel programs, and it's something that I know you've been very much involved with, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, a strong travel program brings a strong classroom experience, and a strong membership brings a strong travel program. They're kind of linked hand in hand in terms of the abilities for you to be able to grow both the classroom members and the members of the OLLI program and the travel program as well. I think I mentioned one of the biggest things that's not necessarily listed, but is kind of a theme throughout all of it, is finding a partner that's collaborative as opposed to a partner that's dictatorial, where they're dictating what exactly you need to do, and finding a partner that's able to execute on some of the ideas that you have as well. Some of these partners might not have the local connections. Some of these travel companies might not be able to customize the way that you'd like for them to customize. Finding that right travel partner begins with figuring out, okay, what I know we've talked about a little bit, but like what professors are interested in leading some of our journeys? What are these professors interested in, or what are they teaching in our schools already, or in our to our students already? What could be potentially offshoots of their interests, kind of like this idea of Austria and the biology professor at University of Pittsburgh, but also kind of above and beyond that, what classroom learnings can we build into programs, travel programs, and are the travel partners we're currently working with, able to execute that on a level that we're comfortable sending our travelers on, right?
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
what you send your traveler on, and if you're just starting your travel program, or if you've had your travel program for a long time, the one thing that I can't say enough to what somebody who runs an OLLI travel program, wherever you send your traveler, whatever program you send your traveler on, that is a reflection of your decisions as an organization. It reflects on your program as well. And I know this isn't a hard sell on NANDA, but I know NANDA takes that responsibility very, very seriously, right? We really focus on making sure that wherever we send people, it is at the utmost safety, it's the greatest experience, and it's comfort
Yeah.
and comfortable and engaging, right? And so one of the things, and I think we haven't necessarily talked about all the the NANDA way, which we'll talk about in a minute, But one of the great things is everything you do is a customized journey. You don't necessarily have a preset itinerary. You might have an itinerary that you've done in the past, but you're able to customize it based on what an OLLI program is looking for. Tell me a little bit about that journey of a customized journey, right? Like, how does it start? Where are those initial aspects of, okay, this is where I want to go, this is the learning I want to do? How does that conversation start, and how does that progress to the point where you're actually announcing this is the journey we're actually hosting for 2026?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from our attendees today as well, whether or not this resonates with them. But for us, not having a catalog allows us to have creativity. Because if we have
Mm,
a catalog, we can kind of just be down this one narrow path that it doesn't allow us to really expand our thinking in terms of the mission of the program. So they identify a theme. It's what we call kind of a purpose statement. Like, what do we want this program to be? Is like, we know that we have learning outcomes designated for in-class learning, but what do we want the travel experience to be? Why are we doing it? What do we want people to learn? How do we want people to feel? So that's kind of the initial, and then based on that theme, what destinations suit that theme? And we've talked a lot today about creating course curriculums that can have multiple courses that feed into a destination. So that could be part of that conversation too, is are we talking destination we want to go to first, and then courses that could match that, or the other way around? Everybody's creative experience and pathway is different, but that's one way of looking at it. And then identifying somebody that could be your lead person for that journey, whether it's a professor or one of your travel committee, or you as the OLLI director. What's your passion? What are you passionate about? Because if you have passion, that's going to convey to your members, and then that's naturally going to allow your travel program to be a success. It's like the Pied Piper philosophy, right? If you have somebody who's passionate about something, they've helped design it, they're naturally going to have great energy around spreading the word about that experience. And then talking to your travel partner, when we presented that previous slide to you, that allowed you just to have some conversation starters around some of the things you might want to have a conversation with them about in terms of how to create something that is going to be profound, long lasting, meaningful, impactful at the local level as well, if that's important to you. And then collaborate on that. It should be an iterative process. If we get a travel program figured out within one version, we haven't done our job, right? That's how we think
right.
here at NANDA. It should be iterative and changing out elements, and then ideating together about things that we could do better, take out, doesn't work. And then collaborative launch as well, in terms of designing the materials, and a conversation like this, your orientation sessions, all again should be a collaborative process. And I'm going to put some of my dear friends that I see that are on here today. If you want to come and chat with us and add to the conversation, feel free, and I can allow you to talk. But I'm not going to put anybody on the spot by name. But if any of you out there that are joining us today wanted to either comment on something Michael said, offer a different perspective or a different way of thinking, either put your hand up or let us know in the chat. But the collaborative element of it it's what we love at NANDA, right? That's
Yeah,
kind of what we're passionate about. Oh, and
yeah,
Jane, let me have Jane come in here for a second.
yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Jane.
Hi there. Good to have you. This was a very good conversation started. I
Awesome.
I want you to know that my chat is disabled for some reason for
Oh,
the webinar. So I sent a
Oh, maybe that's why. I was thinking the chat was a little quiet today. I was wondering why.
there. I mean, I think it's maybe on your end because normally I can do things with chat.
yeah, I'll
Um,
check that out.
I did put something in Q&A just to alert you to it, but maybe you didn't see that either.
Oh, I
Okay.
see it in Q&A. I see some questions now. Now I see the Q&A open.
Okay,
Look at that.
good,
Jane,
good.
you are a lifesaver.
Thank you,
Okay, great,
Jane.
great. Yeah, I thought it was kind of quiet too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I love the collaborative part of working with NANDA. You are the only company that we've talked with, and we've been in the travel business for a while, Of course, the pandemic took the wind out of everybody's sails, but we're coming back strong. But the companies that we work with, and there's a handful of them that we've been have regular trips with. That is, I wouldn't call it dictatorial, but it is laid out. It's take it or leave it. Um, so it's great to at least augment those take it or leave it kinds of
Yeah.
trips with a few of the ones that are customizable for the audience at hand. As you say, it flows. Sometimes travel ideas flow out of classrooms. Other times travel inspires
Mhm.
follow-on coursework.
Yeah.
Definitely go hand in hand. But I just thank you for, being on our radar.
Thank you, Jane. It's been a wonderful collaborative experience with you and the travel community at the University of Alabama at the Huntsville location. So we really enjoyed it. We've got some great programs and lots coming up this week. So thank you so much, Jane. And I appreciate you, Chris and David, and enjoying our working collaboration.
Absolutely. And I think I did fix the chat. So I don't know if anybody wants to drop a hello there to make sure that it is working, but I feel like I clicked on the three buttons there and it said allow participant. There you go. David's
Oh,
there.
there we
Chat said
go.
hi.
Okay.
Chat, if you do have any questions, please drop them in the chat or to Nicola's point. Feel free to raise your hand and we'll take you off of mute as well. So there's some information. I was wondering why the chat was so
Oh
quiet.
my
Thank you so much.
goodness. Thank you, Jane.
Um, and one point just to reiterate what you had said, Nicola, about those first three bullet points there, they can be intertwined. Like you could have a professor
Mhm.
come to you and say, I want to do a classroom learning on, architecture in, Renaissance Italy, right? In Florence, right? We could definitely collaborate. Or you could say, oh, what the destination of your travelers could come to you and say, I really want to go to X, Y, and Z destination, and you can find classroom learnings in almost any destination around the world. So those first three are really kind of malleable. You can really kind of take them in any particular way. So definitely make sure that you're not putting yourself in a box by saying we need to identify a theme first, or we need to identify a destination, or we need to find the right group leader. A lot of times those can kind of come along organically as you start to find your way into a strong destination that has a great learning opportunity. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to kind of reiterate that. So anything else that you wanted to say to this slide, Nicola?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome. So we have one more and then we'll definitely get to the questions. So I can now say that you are able to throw your questions in the chat. We will have time at the end, although we are running a little short. We'll make this last slide a little bit quicker because, again, it's not all about us. It's all about you and helping you guys to be more successful in your travel programs. But tell us a little bit about the Nanda Way, Nicola. I know this is something that's organic, but tell us a little bit about how Nanda Way matched so well with OLLI and how we've had so much success so quickly with some of the OLLI programs we work with.
Yeah, I think all of these words will resonate with everybody on our webinar today, and I think our conversation today has probably naturally created this kind of idea of the Nanda way, which is collaborative, immersive, authentic, right? We try to be very socially responsible and contract hotels that are local versus maybe some of the more mainstream American or European chain hotels, because one of our passions is keeping your travel dollars as local as possible for the most profound impact possible. So again, I think our missions align in terms of we're all just trying to do a great thing, right? We're trying to travel responsibly, and that's our passion. So the Nanda Way was an organic thing that came to us through our travelers, our leaders, our guides, and I think it resonates and it translates into OLLI moments so easily that that's the thing that we're most excited about in this collaborative conversation.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do love about the Nanda Way, and something that I've kind of started to say in all of our webinars, is with the Nanda journey, you take your memories, but you leave your footprints, which is what I love about, what the experiences you have, whether it be with the people you connect with, both on tour, but also in destination, the impact that you leave behind. And these OLLI moments that we've started to intertwine in a lot of the itineraries are really, really special and that sort of thing. So to recap, now that we have some questions that we can kind of get to, I see one that we definitely want to touch base on. Just to recap, we talked a lot about why combining travel and classroom learning. Hopefully, we've gotten that across to you. If you don't currently kind of combine your classroom learning with some of the travel you're doing, definitely start looking at that as you start to plan 2026. I know many of you have already started planning or already planned, but start to look at ways that you can get your classroom learning. How to create custom journeys, talking a little bit about that. Destinations for OLLI course ideas. Those are just a few of the many that we can offer, many that you can actually go on. But finding the right partnerships is what it's all about. So let's get to some of the questions, because I did see one that I did want to make sure that people heard in regards to more about the group size. Celeste is wondering about group size. How is pricing determined? How does that work? Not necessarily with you, because I know that many tour operators work very similarly, but how does pricing determine when it comes to the group size, Nicola?
Yeah, we take a bespoke approach to pricing too. So we don't combine our groups with any other groups. So we have that conversation early in the planning that identifies what the mission of the program is, what is our target group size. And we all know that a smaller group size can be a lot more impactful and intimate for your travelers, but for the people we visit. So a good group size, I think, is anything between 12 and 30 people, right? Is ideal. I think that sweet spot is around about 20 is a sweet spot, because you have enough people for it to be beneficial for you, beneficial for us at NANDA. But we take a bespoke approach to pricing, and we price it the way you want it priced. Some people want to include a professor spot. Some people have a different way that they kind of coordinate their OLLI travel programs. Revenue generating is important for some OLLIs, not as important for others. So ultimately, it's about what is the goal for the price point for the participating member, and how does that align with your goals as an OLLI travel committee. Because everybody has a slightly different approach. So we take a slightly different approach and tailor make that to your goals. Obviously, the slightly bigger the group, the less price point it is for the participation of the members. But really, we're all about quality. What is the quality of the experience? What do we want that to look like? And again, it's an iterative approach. If the price point doesn't look quite right, we talk together about how we can meet your target price points. And I'll put it right out there. We're not the cheapest in the game. We're not, and it's not our intention to be. But we are value. I believe passionately that our programs are priced in a way that it's still affordable for your members. It adds value, and those OLLI moments, they're priceless, right?
The memories you take are priceless, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
can see that, Karen had mentioned that she's been to 3 of our featured countries, so we've chosen correctly. We just got to get her to that fourth. I don't know which one it is that is their fourth, but we just got to get her to that fourth one. If there are any other questions, again, please feel free to drop them in the chat as well. I have one question as we kind of wait for maybe a couple more on Nicola. We've highlighted 4 destinations here. If you could have added one more, since we have 3 minutes left, if you could add one more destination to our list, what destination would you have added and why?
Oh my goodness, you putting me on the spot. I guess it came into my head first, so I'll say it, Guatemala.
Another
Guatemala
heart destination.
is another heart destination. We didn't talk about my heart destinations, but yeah, Guatemala, again, it's not on the radar because I think there are socio-political things that we'll not get into today. But the reason it's not on people's radar, I think, is because the conversation typically here in the media and the news is the immigration conversation. And they don't have a big tourism authority. They don't have a lot of money to spend on promoting their country as a destination. We're all seeing Japan all over our feeds and our news and things like that. They have money to spend, but the experience in Guatemala is cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, with that said, we got 2 minutes left. So honestly, if you have any questions or concerns, even if it's just about building your OLLI travel program, even if it's just about destinations you're interested in, we here at NANDA Journeys, if there's one thing that I hope you've even heard in the when we talk about the NANDA way, is we are authentic. And when we say that we're here to help you build a stronger travel program for your OLLI, we mean that authentically. We mean that honestly. Not everything that we do is all about booking with us. If you're not booking with us, like, we are here and we're doing this because we believe in the power of education in travel, and we know that's what you guys are doing across the country. So if there's any way that we can answer any questions or provide you more information on how to find the right destinations, build stronger travel programs, build stronger itineraries, that is what NANDA Journeys is here for. Obviously, we'd like for you to travel with us, but if you have strong relationships with other partners, please just know that we're here to kind of help you be successful. Please feel free to reach out to us on our website through phone number or through the email address. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. You can see that some of our friends here that we work with already. Final words, Nicola. I'll let you close it out before we say goodbye to our audience today.
I say thank you to our dear friends that are already part of the Nanda OLLI family for being here today. We appreciate you so much. For those of you that are new, we look forward to talking to you. And like Michael said, we truly mean that. If you just want to talk travel and ideate, call us. We're happy to do that. And if we feel that there is somebody else in our travel network that would be a better fit for your objectives for your program, we'll tell you that. This industry is really small, and I've been fortunate to be part of it for a really long time. And sometimes we're not the fit for you, but we're happy to have that conversation, even ideate around you starting your travel program if that's where you're at. I was in product development for a long time and product ideation, and I love nothing more. So yeah, come on, chat with us. And I really appreciate everybody being here today. And we'll make this recording available to share with your travel committees and your OLLI board and team members.
Absolutely. Yeah, we may not be a fit for everyone, but when we are a fit, we are a great fit. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you. A special thank you to Jane for letting us know that the chat wasn't working this afternoon.
Yeah,
We
thank you, Jane.
apologize for that. Next time, we promise that we will have the chat working throughout the entire presentation, but we sincerely thank you for joining us. Your biggest asset is your time, and we appreciate you spending it with us. We look forward to seeing you on the next OLLI Travel Insights. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you around the world.
Great.
Thanks so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
David. Thank you, Jane. Take care. We'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nicola.